Welcome back to the channel, and I thought today we would go back to the Triclaw gallery to go through a few more of my favourite screenshots from Jurassic World Evolution 2's past. Just for context, most of these screenshots come from between 2021 and early 2023. The first is this one, Nessie. This I just liked because I really enjoy how the positioning of a aviary dome over the lagoon looking up at the belly of the Attenborosaurus just creates this very nice sort of roof effect through the water, and I think overall it's just a really nice shot. And in fact, quite a few of the screenshots in this video today are going to be of aquatic animals, and there's kind of a reason for that. One, I think a lot of them are nice, but also two, I fear we're going to lose a lot of aquatic animals in Jurassic World Evolution 3, and I think it's worth remembering those wonderful creatures from the second game. Next, we have an overview screenshot of one of my first modded park builds, which was a lagoon only park build where I tried to use the San Diego map and squeezed in as many lagoons as I could. The actual amount of mods used in this build is a relatively low amount. I think the only ones that were around here at this point in time was a few skin mods, but this was kind of like the first map I was truly happy with how it turned out, with the entrance area and the monorail artwork there, the pathways with the triangular shaped lagoons leading to some Brachiosaurus that were in the San Diego amphitheater, and I think I managed to get every lagoon species that was in the game at the time onto this map. I think it's just a nice overview of one of my very early parks, and it provides a good thing to look back on after all of the modding and upgrades that we then latterly got, to look at some of my more modern, newer builds and see how they contrast heavily with this one. This one I nicknamed Watermelon because this was the beginning of people starting to experiment with new modded animal skins. This one for the Edmontosaurus, which I particularly liked because I felt that it gave the Edmontosaurus some more vibrant skin colorations, hence the bright green and red-headed watermelon pattern there. I also think it just has particularly nice composition with the Innovation Center in the background and the other Edmontosaurus in the grey and orange there just in the back. I just thought it's a nice screenshot. This one I nicknamed My Style because this is where I think the first instance was of me doing things that would become, as Evolution Square says, a Fletcher build. This was when I was starting to rebuild the lagoon park, but taking full advantage of various mods that had come out in the time. And you can see many things that I still do to this day. The mixing up of the Pennsylvania trees, the red and orange trees with the normal foliage, just to add a splash of colour to an otherwise mostly green palette. The utilisation of lagoon viewing galleries as normal viewing galleries, just with an upper level and a lower level. The joining together of amenities into blocks that sort of fit together, mostly straight line paths with only slight curves or curved areas. This is kind of where I first think my sort of style of park building solidified, for Jurassic World Evolution 2 at least. So I thought it was a good idea to present this one. Now the next two I've combined as one because it was the beginning of the Lux mods, and I absolutely adored this period of Jurassic World Evolution 2 modding. The discovery of being able to turn any dinosaur's pattern into a Lux mod resulted in some wonderful skins. So here we have a Stegosaurus Lux where the pattern made it a brilliant yellow and it just really stood out and looked amazing. And then you also had these two, so this was the Brachiosaurus Lux, which gave it a nice brilliant red-orange glow, but my favourite was the Amargasaurus down there in the other corner, which gave it a sort of a blue stripe going down along its back. I just think it looked absolutely incredible and gave some much needed vibrancy to some perhaps otherwise kind of boringly skinned animals. These Lux mods would go on for quite a while until, unfortunately, I think it was one of the major updates broke them, and they've never really returned, and I thought that was a great shame. Next, we have a few pictures which I've called posterized, because this is the style, or this is the name for this style, where you use 3 or 2 really contrasting colors in order to create a picture. It's a particular art style, and NVIDIA Ansel back in the day, which is what I used to use to make screenshots, would allow you to add this to the screenshot photo that you were taking. And I messed around with this quite a lot because I actually liked the very stark stylization that it created. So this shot is actually from that earlier lagoon rebuild that I was telling you about, but this is from the main street going down towards the San Diego amphitheater, which you can see in the middle of the shot with the 2 viewing towers on either side, and I just thought it was works particularly well for this. There's a couple of other ones here. So here are the Brachiosaurus from that amphitheater. Again, they just stand out very nicely against the stark colors. And we have a third one, which is what I believe this is the Kinjausaurus. I think the only time I've ever used it, which had its enclosure next to the monorail artwork at the entrance. And I just really enjoy the posterized style, the really stark contrasting colors. I think it works really very well. This one I've titled Greenhouses, because this was finally when the first attempt at the Arizona Reserve was fully completed. Everything was built, all the enclosures were full. I didn't know what I was doing with this area at the side of the park until I thought about using the big grass aviaries from Jurassic World as giant greenhouses for paleo foliage, and they sort of finished up this particular area of the build. Obviously, the Arizona Reserve is being rebuilt as one of my final parks for Jurassic World Evolution 2, which I need to finish, so I'm looking forward to having some screenshots of my final build of this version of this park soon. But yeah, I thought again it was just a nice overview shot and a good idea to use the glass buildings as greenhouses. In fact, I think one of the first things I might build for Jurassic World Evolution 3 in modular building is a greenhouse structure. Might be difficult, but it might be something I persevere to do. We then have another couple of Lux pictures, because this was from the final generation of sort of Lux mods that came around, the final lot that I played around with before an update broke them all. This was the Cryolophosaurus Lux, or what I used to call the cryogenic Cryolophosaurus Lux, because I absolutely loved the sort of acid cold blue that it had going on, and the Werhosaurus looked wonderful with these blue plates and orange stripes down the body. I just absolutely adored them. Like I say, I think it's a crying shame that Lux mods kind of died out after the update that broke them all, and I really hope they bring us some brand new Lux designs for animals in the new game. I know we've already got a Mosasaurus Lux coming, which I would be curious to see if it really adds anything good to what was a boring animal in the Jurassic World Evolution 2 at least. So we'll have to see how that turns out. The next 3 we have I've titled Going Extinct, because they're of species that I don't think are coming back in Jurassic World Evolution 3. This being the Styxosaurus, here seen during the day, and then here at night where we had those lovely Lux patterns along its neck, and the Liopleurodon, here 2 of them together investigating this coral. I think these 2 creatures are not coming back in Jurassic World Evolution 3. I would be very surprised if Styxo or Lio is there. So I think it's worth remembering, while we still have them, that they are good animals in their own right. I will defend the Liopleurodon to the hilt, and the Styxo I just think is an absolutely beautiful animal anyway, and I think these 2 will be missed if they never show up in Evolution 3. Also, I happen to really like the Liopleurodon screenshot, just these 2 together, one of them kind of with its mouth open, almost like it's talking to the other one. The final screenshot today is what I've called My Style 2, because this was the point where I started experimenting using the lagoon decorations out of the lagoons and using them to form decorative elements in the park, using the sails as things, using these obelisks as things, creating these plazas with them. And of course this would eventually lead to me commissioning the mod I use at the moment, where all the lagoon decorations are pulled apart and you can place the objects down wherever you like, which I think was really good for the game's decorations. But this was where I started to really mess around with that sort of thing. It would be also when, for this particular build, I started making my own path mods again, which might show up in screenshots moving on from this. So that was just another few brief screenshots of Jurassic World Evolution 2's past that I thought was worth sharing with you guys. Let me know down in the comments if any of these you particularly liked, and I will see you next time. Until then, stay safe and goodbye.